Hello, everyone. My name is JT, the Talking Head. You are the audience, and you are listening to episode 3 of the Masters of Matinee podcast, a collaborative show between content creators who all share a great love of cinema and a passion for physical media. Our co host today is a fellow film talker, actor, writer, director, rapper, and our final master. All the way from Texas, it's Teo the Terminurtle. Teo uses his background in filmmaking and cinematography to make quality TikToks and has shown an insane amount of growth in a short time period on the platform. Join us today as we discuss Teo's passion for filmmaking, what drives him as a creator, his love for cinema, and why he collects physical media. The Masters of Matinee would like to remind you all, as always, to please silence your cell phones and do enjoy the show.
The stars at night are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas.
So, Teo, welcome
Yes, sir.
to the podcast. You are officially the third host. You are unveiled now. How does it feel to be out in the wild?
I feel like I am exposed, but I am enjoying it.
Okay.
No. Yeah, dude, I'm super glad to be here. I'm glad that you asked me to be a part of this team. We need like a team name. We need like a freaking a go-go VHSers or something like that. Like, I don't know.
So, I'm going to ask you the same question, and I've decided that this question is going to be asked to everybody on their first ever episode of the show. So even guests, if they come on in the future, this will be the question that they get asked. What is the last movie that you watched, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how screwed are you if that movie suddenly became your real life?
So just last night, which this is going to be my TikTok for today, but just last night we introduced my sister-in-law to a small little comedy called Super Bad. And if Super Bad became my life, I think Superbad was my life for a couple of my teenager years. If it became my life right now, I think I'd be a little concerned. But I was telling my sister last night, there's a part in that film where the two leads get in a car with just like a random sketchy dude. And I did do that a couple of times in my teenage years, and they led to some interesting stories. A few I can talk about, and a few that I probably should never tell anyone. So I wouldn't be opposed to doing that one more time, just to see what came of it.
Just for old time's sakes, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really great question.
Well, let me ask you this: which character in Superbad were you? Which of the three?
I feel like I did what Jonah Hill did, but I came at it from a Michael Cera perspective.
Okay.
So like I feel like I was more on the like chill kind of end, but I would definitely go out and try and try and obtain as much, chaos, or as much like just sort of craziness as I possibly could. Which I think it was because I grew up watching so many movies that I think it put a lot of pressure on me for my teenage years to be this like iconic thing. Like I need these like true stories that are like bigger than like expectation and whatnot. And I think for the most part I did get that. I have a lot of stories that now when I tell people, they're like, oh wow, like I didn't expect you to like, you know what I mean? So
well, I'll tell you this, like when I was looking through your filmography last night, And for those who are unaware, Teo here is like a bona fide filmmaker, man. He's legit. He blows everything I've ever done out of the freaking water. And that was when he was in high school. So let's keep that in mind too. Like this man's got some raw talent right here. Um, but I was looking at like the way that you write things, and I was just like, this dude has lived. Like he's like been around the block. Like, and I don't know if that was like like if a lot of those stories that you were telling were like super based off of like real things,
Mhm.
or if they were based off of like stories from friends or what. But I mean, like, that you just looking at what you had written down and filmed it, stuff like that doesn't come from nowhere, you know? Like it felt so raw, especially that road trip movie, the
Oh, yeah.
Backroads, the Gift of the Backroads. It
Yeah.
was so funny too. It was a like the Santa fight had me busting out laughing. And I had one question too
Okay.
about that. I noticed a recurring setting other than your school in a lot of your films, and it's
Hmm.
Subway.
It is Subway. Dude, okay.
So I
It
wrote
means
down I
so
wrote down
much
in
to
my
me.
notes. I wrote down in my notes because I kept seeing Subway, and I was like, because I took a couple notes on your stuff, and my note literally says, "Do his parents own a Subway franchise?" I was like, it's either got to be that, or you're in good with the owner, or you worked there.
Yeah. So, I mean, uh, first of all, just thank you. It's been a long time since I've even gone back and looked at that stuff. I think most people that know me today don't even know that I have this whole, sort of chronicle of my life and different projects that I made. To answer your first question, they are like, so with every project I do, I try and have it based in some sort of truth. And I feel like that's just the best approach to take with all films. I mean, even a movie like ET, where it's about like a space alien that comes to Earth, but it's about human connection, and it's like about like what connects us. And so it's like a film that isn't based in reality can still be based in truth. And so that's the approach that I take to my films. I do try to incorporate a lot of kind of the like way that you put it, like a lot of true stories or true things that people have told me. The fight with Santa Claus, that was based on a true story that one of my cousins told me. And then as far as why we film in Subway, so the first movie that I ever made, it was called Die Alone, and we were just looking for a place to record people in a restaurant talking, and there was a Subway very close to my house, and we just went in and said like, "Hey, can we record in here?" And they said, "Oh yeah, yeah, sure." And so that's why we keep on going back to that same location, and it's like and it's not even like there are people I know that are like employees there. It's not that I'm like in with like anybody. It's just for some reason that location is extremely chill with us just bringing in cameras and stuff.
The town that die or not die alone. What's it called? The Backroads movie, The Gift of the Backroads.
Yeah.
Which
Hmm.
if you guys, I'm gonna link that one in particular in the description of this, because it's so good, but it's so picturesque, and I really loved like the small town vibe of it. Kind of looked like something out of a Hallmark movie, and
Yeah.
I loved like the
Thank you.
I loved your little like transitions between showing the town at Christmas time and the girl in the library. I thought it was
Mhm.
brilliant, and use like very Hitchcock approach. Like you would get like you'd pan over something that's the same color and use that to cut into it. And I just really, really appreciated that. And then also, in speaking of Die Alone and subways and stuff, um, also watched Anthology that you did.
Oh, the shady voices, I think.
Yeah, Shady Voices. I loved how that
Shady
tied
Voices.
into Die Alone. I loved
Oh,
that. I thought it
yes.
was so cool because like the last
Thank
episode
you.
of that, it's like the guy who made Die Alone, and it's
Yeah.
like that's so meta. It breaks the fourth wall in such a way that I was like, this is some like really, this writing just smacks you around and was like, man, that's a fun like twist. That's a
Dude,
really fun
I
twist.
I probably have not watched those in like 10 years. Like it's been like that long. So that's so like cool that you actually like went and like looked at all that, man.
Oh
Like
yeah.
wow.
Hey, whenever somebody sends me their work, like, and if I take a genuine interest in it, man, I'm gonna deep dive. I'm gonna deep dive into it. And like I told you before, off of recording, I went down the rabbit hole, man. I watched that. I watched a few trailers. I watched the Gift of the Backroads. I think Gift of the Backroads is probably my favorite thing that I saw that you did, and I absolutely loved it. And like I said, that Santa fight scene, like whenever I like watch something and like I laugh, it's usually just like a hard exhale out of my nose. Like, and
Mhm.
even if I find it hilarious, but that scene literally made me chuckle, bro. And then there's like it cuts to you with a little girl like appalled at it, and I was like, and when I saw that, I did the pretty much the meme of Leo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yeah,
like
once upon a time.
yeah,
Yeah, Gift of Backroads is probably my best one. It's the one that I definitely sort of recommend to people. And then I think that like Andrew and Nicole may top it. But that film obviously has not come out yet. So we will see how that does if that ever comes out. And yeah.
there was another one you did that hit me. I can't remember the name of it. It was it called I'm Going Through Changes?
Oh yes. Yeah, yeah.
So that one, like the premise of that to the listeners is really brilliant. It's like about this family who's like torn apart after the loss of their father, and it's like these two sisters, and you can obviously tell like the younger one is like just falling apart and like just needs to be like loved. She's having such a tough time with it, and because she doesn't feel that way, she's like acting out. And I felt that so hard because in December of 2021, I lost my stepfather to COVID. And
Hmm.
so a story like that showed a lot of the kind of emotion that I went through and that my little sister goes through. My little sister's 11 years old and she's left without a father. And she's like
Yeah.
going through that stuff right now. And it's like it was hard hitting, man. Like I thought that was like a really, really good film. And honestly, if you hadn't ever like submitted that to any film festivals or anything, you that's the one I think you should because it's so impactful.
No, thank you, man. Yeah, so that script was really special to me because we also had kind of gone through a lot of kind of death within that time. And for me, I think that communication has always been a really big thing to me, and it hasn't always big or it hasn't always been big to the people that are closest to me. I think I grew up with a lot of people that would rather kind of keep stuff in than sort of express it and talk about it. And I think that that's the best way to get past certain problems, especially those type of problems. So I wanted to write a script that was just about the importance of communication, the importance of when you are experiencing the same thing as another person, that it's okay to let them know, like, hey, like I'm not 100% like I'm not all where I need to be. So yeah, so no, thank you. That is a film I would like to submit. I would actually want to go back and re-record it. I made that film in like 2018, and I just have like so much better, I have so much like so much like greater uh camera gear and microphones and whatnot. So I may actually redo that film and then turn it in. And yeah.
Yeah, man, I definitely think you should. I was talking to Teo earlier about this. I'm gonna link his channel in the description of the YouTube version of this. Um, any listeners, I highly, highly recommend you all go and check out Teo's channel and look at some of these films, because I want to do an episode in the future where we do kind of a deep delve into both Teo and I's filmographies. He has a lot more than I do, so I mean, I could probably talk about all mine in a span of 10 minutes, but his is so intriguing, and I think that we could probably make an entire episode out of it. So stay tuned in the future for an episode based on that for sure. But in the meantime, you can go and check out his channel and check out his short films in the description below. But we're gonna pivot to away from that topic for now, and I want to know, Teo, you have made all these short films and these episodic web series and such like that. What got you into film, cinema? Like what sparked that love of movies for you? To that you know, there's people who like movies, and then there's people who like movies so much that they're like, this is what I want to do. I want to make this.
Yeah.
So what makes you that person?
It was Peter Jackson's King Kong. That film came out in 2005. I was 6 years old.
Is that the one with Jack Black?
Yes.
Okay.
Which you may cut this out because the people don't have our screens, but I do have a picture of Jack Black that was autographed with Peter Jackson. Yeah.
That's so dope.
Which so I think that was the movie that made me want to start working behind the camera. Because when I was about 5 years old, I remember they used to have these commercials on the radio that were like, "Do you want your kid to be in Disney Channel TV?" You know, and they were doing a casting call, and my mom took me to it, and I had to prepare a monologue, and I actually still have this clip. But the monologue that 5-year-old Mateo chose to do was the ending monologue from Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 1. The one where he's like, I have this, gift, and it's my responsibility. And then he says at the end of it, who am I? Like, I'm Spider-Man. And when I did that, I said, who am I? And I turned around, I put on a Spider-Man mask, and I spun back around and was like, I'm Spider-Man. And that got me a casting agent. And then I started working in commercials. I got casted on a couple of different TV programs. I never got casted in like a movie, which stinks. But I did like audition for a ton of movies. I auditioned for I think it ended up being called Meet Dave with like Eddie Murphy. And then I auditioned for an Ashton Kutcher movie, the one where he plays like a rescue diver. I don't remember what that one's called. But yeah, and so kind of getting to grow up and be on commercials and things like that, I think it definitely sparked a love and passion of production within me, and it just kind of stayed. Like I grew up and I never really questioned what I wanted to do. I never questioned what path I wanted to go on. I knew I wanted to work within movies and film production in some type of in some type of a capacity. And then when I was 12 years old, my mom bought me my first camera, and from there it just kind of, took off.
Were you in any like shows or anything that I would have seen?
No, I was in a lot of Spanish stuff, which is
Okay.
hilarious because I don't speak Spanish, but I was on.
A lot of Telemundo, huh?
Yes, I was on Telemundo a freaking ton, and I would basically they would just tell me what the quote was, and I would repeat it, but I had no idea what the translation was. My mom would just like teach me the way to like speak it, and then yeah. When I was a teenager, I did come on a like cop drama, and that was pretty cool. I got killed.
Do you remember which one it was?
So it's called Stop the Threat. I can definitely get the clips to you, and it's kind of like have you ever seen What Would You Do?
What would you do? No, I don't think so.
Like so, I think so. The TV show revolved around this panel of speakers, and it was like a police officer, like a deputy, and like whatnot. And they're all talking about like, what if you're walking out to your car at night, and a person walks up to you and they pull a gun on you? Like what is the best course of what you should do? What is the not best thing to do? And so while these guys are talking, they have actors portray all of the like stuff. And so I starred in a couple of those episodes, and the one that was most memorable, a guy stops at like a red box, and we try and steal his car. And in the middle of I grab him, I toss him on the ground, I tell my partner to get in the car, and he pulls out his gun and just empties the clip into me. So I'm just like, ah. And then I hit the ground. Yeah. And I'm dead.
That's awesome. I love that. So, what was it about Peter Jackson's King Kong that like made you like think, man, this is like, was it the writing, the story, the special effects, the
It
cinematography?
was it was definitely the story and the dialogue. Something about the way that the dialogue is written, it's not completely realistic, but it's not like completely theatrical, but there's a certain like grandiose to it. It carries a certain gravitas um that is just like really like it's almost like timeless, and it feels like a work of like poetry almost. And then I just loved the story. I loved the like design of the film. I think it's a very beautiful movie. And me being like only 6 years old at the time, that's like a 3 hour long, picture. There's not a lot of kids I know that age that would be able to watch a film that long and it like keep their attention. And when that movie came out, I just watched it on DVD again and again, and like I just kept like playing it in constant rotation. There was just something about it. I think it just came out the right place at the right time. You know what I mean? And it just like really grabbed on to me. And yeah.
I I don't think that I had the desire to make movies that young, like not nearly as young as you, but I remember the movie that did it for me, which just sounds so like this is probably the movie that does it for a lot of like indie filmmakers, and it was Clerks from Kevin Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Um, because the first time I ever saw his movie, uh, I think I was probably 12 or 13, and I saw it
Mhm.
on like Netflix, and I was like, "Wow, this is funny. I like all the uses of the F word, and I like the Star Wars references." And then I watched it again when I was like a lot more mature,
Mhm.
and I understood like, oh, they're not just using this language for no reason. They're not just talking about pop culture for no reason. This is how they talk to each other. This is how real people talk to each other. This is how my friends and I talk to each other. We speak like this. We use this kind of lingo. We use this cadence in conversation. And the way that Kevin Smith wrote dialogue was really probably what kickstarted it for me, that I wanted to be a writer. And then his story about how he um, ran up all of his credit cards and sold his comic book collection to fund Clerks. Um, and it was like a $27,000 production, like that cheap to make a whole ass movie. I was like, man, like that right there made me want to be a director. And I've always maintained the fact that I'm a better writer than I am a director, but I enjoy doing both. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can't say that I had that desire burning in me from that young of an age, but I did always enjoy movies like a bunch. Like, and I've always collected physical media and stuff ever since I was a little kid too. So that's really cool, man. That's not a movie that I think that you would expect a lot of people to say is like something that sparked something instantly in them. Is Peter Jackson's King Kong? Like that didn't do too great in the box office, did it?
It was the fifth biggest movie of that year,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken. So it did pretty good when it came out. Now I do think as time has gone on, I think people's critique of it has gotten more and more sort of judgy. I've heard the complaint of like, why is it that much time? Like they probably could have cut out a ton. But we actually watch that movie each year, like on my birthday, and I still think it's great. I think it needs to be that runtime because it adds to the scope, right? Like I think King Kong doesn't even come in the film until like 1 hour and like 15 minutes, which would be a complaint to a ton of people. But it's like, no, because like by the time he comes in, you've already been on this like journey. Right. To be honest, we could talk for 2 hours just on King Kong. Like
Yeah, I guess that's your favorite Kong movie.
in terms of the Kong films, yeah. Yeah. I did really enjoy Skull Island. But I enjoyed it for a lot of sort of different things.
I haven't seen
Yeah.
any of the newer ones. I think I've only seen Peter Jackson's, and I caught that on TV a couple times. And I've seen the original from like what is it, 30s?
Yeah, 1933.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've never personally been too much into the. I guess would you consider Kong to be a kaiju type monster?
I think he is. But he's like right on the like cusp of like what is a, kaiju and then what's just like a big creature.
And Zedzilla is gonna kill me for this, but I've never even been like a massive fan of Godzilla. I've discovered Godzilla as of late, and I think I've told him this, but if this is the first time he's hearing it, listening to this episode, he might quit the podcast, so there might just be three hosts. But I have never seen, as Zedzilla lovingly refers to it, Roland Emmerich's 1998 American masterpiece, Godzilla. It's like one of his favorite
Oh,
movies.
dude, we should watch it. We should find a way to do like a stream where we all can like tune into it. I think that'd be cool.
We could do that, and then maybe we could do an episode that me and you and Zed talking about it and kaiju's and stuff. I know Zed is. I mean, his name is Zedzilla, so he's like super into
Mhm.
Godzilla and stuff. Um, but yeah, so Kong has never personally hit with me. I've
Yeah.
never been into. I don't know. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's King Kong's fault in general. I think that it's
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
I've never been into the whole gigantic monster the size of a building type thing. You know.
Yeah, which that's very interesting because I feel like for some reason, and again, like I'm not sure why this is. I think it might be because of King Kong, but I super enjoy, give me a giant creature and give me a person that like has a connection to it that like nobody can like comprehend or like explain. because another movie that I just like freaking love a ton is Cloverfield. I think that movie hit a very special place to me.
I did see Cloverfield.
Yeah,
I like
and
that one.
I just love that film.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. I need to rewatch it. I think I have that over on the shelf on DVD. I need to rewatch that. It's been um it had a sequel, right? 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, but it's not a continuation. So the two films they did are both kind of like an anthology, like type of deal.
Gotcha.
But they are coming out with a Cloverfield Part 4. I think they're on that will act as a Cloverfield Part 2. Like it will be like a direct sort of, yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. But yeah, man, I've always been more into the if we're talking like monster movies, I guess more Universal monsters, and I'm not even too big into those. I don't know, man. Monsters just don't hit it for me, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But I got all the love and respect for him, you know. Like I mean, I do love Wolfman. He is my all time favorite.
Oh yeah. What did you think of the Wolfman with Antonio? No, no, not and what's his name? What's his name? The one from like 2010.
Doesn't that have the guy that plays Dr. Gonzo in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas in it?
I think.
What's his
Yeah.
name? Let me see.
It's the guy from Star Wars, which this is like the
Yeah, Benicio del Toro and Anthony
Yeah.
Hopkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I-
I saw it once when it first hit video, and
oh yeah.
I don't really remember it. To be honest with you, I don't.
No, that was a movie that I think was a box office bomb. But to me, it was like this has like many like redeeming, qualities to it.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I don't. I personally don't like horror movie remakes. They all kind of bother me in some way or another. I don't mean to be a snob about it, but I just don't think I've ever really watched a horror film remake that I enjoyed. And it's just I don't know. Like I don't this to be fair, the 2010 Wolfman movie, I don't remember if I enjoyed it or not when I was a kid. Like I
yeah.
was 14 when it came out, I think. So I
Mm.
mean, I don't remember it very well. I might get jump on and see if it's at least streaming somewhere. I don't know. I know that's a sinful thing to say to a on a physical media podcast, but
No, man. Like so, we don't have Wi-Fi currently. It has made me rethink this whole like boo on like streaming, because we were watching our TV show on streaming and we haven't been able to watch it for the past couple of weeks, and it's really like beginning to like you know kick in. It's like maybe streaming does have its own, purpose and whatnot.
it definitely has a place. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that even the most hardcore of physical media collector can admit that there is definitely a place for streaming in the world.
Oh
The
yeah.
way that I use streaming is if a movie is out that I want to see, I'll stream it first, and if I like the movie, then I will buy it because
Yeah. Right.
I collect movies, but like, and I think I mentioned this on the episode with Zed. I've always been a proponent of curation over collection. I don't see a
Right.
need for having like I think I have around 1,000 in my collection. And all of those movies, I actually need to trim it a little bit, but most of those movies are ones that I would watch a couple times in my lifetime, or I plan to watch a couple times in my lifetime. And I don't see a need for buying movies like every single Tuesday, every single new release. And no hate on the ones that do. I know that a lot of people like Blues Day is like their holy Sunday, man. They go to
Mhm.
Best Buy and Best Buy is their church. Like I get it.
Yeah.
Like and I get the collector's mentality of wanting to get every new release that possibly appeals to you. I don't and there are a lot of times that I'm like, "Oh man, that looks awesome. I want to buy that," or "Man, this edition looks awesome. I'll give you the perfect example. Um, you know about Arrow Video?
Yes.
Okay, so they just released. It's called like the Empire of Screams video store into the video store box set, and it's this huge box set, and it comes with like 5 films from the Empire video line, and the set looks amazing. And for 5 Blu-rays from Arrow, it's only $100, and you get this
Oh
huge
wow, yeah,
set
that's good.
and this huge book with them, and each of them comes with a poster. And it's like, I mean, as far as physical media goes, this is a set built for collectors, and it's crazy that it's so low a price. Like, I would think this would be a $200 set, but it's only a
Yeah,
hundred
right.
bucks. But the thing is, as much as I admire the set, and as much as I want it, and as much as I'm having FOMO, I've never seen any of the movies in it, and I can't justify spending $100 on movies that I don't know if I'll like or not. Even though I
Oh
know that
yeah.
I dig that kind of stuff, like it's like 80s budget like horror, and I love
Mhm.
that kind of movie, but I can't spend that kind of money on it, you know. And I can't
Oh yeah.
justify it because I'm like, I've got for every big set that I really want to get, I've got a couple other smaller sets or smaller just standard discs that I really want to get even more that I know that I'll love for sure. So I'm like, I just got to make the sacrifice of not blind buying this massive set and not giving into FOMO, and then I'll get movies that I know that I'm going to love. Like Mallrats is coming out on 4K, like
Yes.
literally less than 2 weeks from now, and I am so hyped for that. Like I cannot wait for it. And then Groove just announced a really nice Big Lebowski set that I can't wait for in 4K.
Oh yeah. Is that the one that will be coming out on Steelbook
So
or
it's
no?
there's one that's coming like it's the steelbook is coming out on the same day, but this is a box set.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think the box set actually might be exclusive to Groove.com. I'm not sure.
I definitely need to check that out
I can send
because
you a link.
yeah, please do. So my brother, like in law, is a huge, big Lebowski fan. And this New Year's Day, he watched it with me. And I had never watched it, and it was honestly really awesome. It was a great time.
Lebowski is a top 3 movie for me.
Oh
It
yeah.
is a absolute top 3 movie for me. I don't have it in 4K yet. Um, so it's crazy to me how I don't have that in 4K yet, but I think that I was just waiting for an edition to buy of it that was a special edition that I really enjoyed.
Oh yeah.
So, and this comes with like a booklet, I think like a poster, and it comes with like a film cell, and I have and it's from Universal. They've been doing these like special editions with film cells, and I have the To Kill a Mockingbird limited edition that comes with a film cell as well.
Oh
And
nice.
so I'm excited to add Lebowski to this. Like Lebowski is one of those movies. That's another movie why I think that helped me kickstart my enjoyment and love of cinema, and probably led to me wanting to make it myself. The Coen brothers
Mhm.
are my one of my absolute favorite like team of filmmakers out there. Have you seen any of their other stuff?
I did not know Coen Brothers did Big Lebowski. That's interesting. My favorite Coen Brothers movie is Go Brother. That movie hits with me every time. I feel like every time I watch it, I find more and more that I'm just like, this movie's amazing. This movie's incredible.
Yeah. Oh Brother Where Art Thou is definitely great. Miller's Crossing is really good. Blood Simple, really good. Have you ever seen their remake of True Grit?
I don't think so.
Have you seen the original, the John Wayne True Grit?
No.
Okay. Well, they remade the John Wayne movie True Grit, and Jeff Bridges is the star. And
Mhm.
it's Jeff Bridges, Matt Damon, and Josh Brolin.
That sounds like an
And
amazing
oh,
cast.
dude, it's like I will hype up that to the day I die. I
Yeah.
think I think that like modern Western is really a dying art. I don't know if
Mhm.
you enjoy Western movies or not,
Oh
but
yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah.
they the modern Western it's so hard to make a Western now. Just because they they don't slap the same as they did like with previous generations. They don't hit
Right.
with our generation like that. And
Hmm.
so the Coen brothers, in my opinion, was probably that True Grit was probably one of the last great modern westerns. And it's like up there with Django and Hateful Eight.
Did you see all of the Western Blu-rays that have been released at Walmart?
I did, and I want to get them so bad. But
Yeah.
the only one I could justify getting is Django because I don't own that. But I'm
Mhm.
not gonna get it because I know that Lionsgate just purchased the rights for Django, so I know there's gonna be a 4K steelbook coming down the line at some point.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
so the Tarantino's like a lot of Tarantino's filmography has been like locked down by Harvey Weinstein, which but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um so Lionsgate just went and purchased a bunch of Tarantino flicks from the Weinstein brothers. Um,
Nice.
so they own now. I think they just announced they own Django, Kill Bill 1 and 2,
Oh,
Inglorious
nice.
Bastards, I believe, and Reservoir Dogs, which we knew they owned Reservoir Dogs because they've already done a 4K steelbook of that. See, it's my goal. I've
Which was
started.
clean,
Oh,
which was
dude,
so nice.
with the way the cover comes off with the ear, I
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
one of my favorite steelbooks.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
it's my goal to have all of Tarantino's films in 4K on Steelbook as they release. I've got
Me
all
too.
of the ones that have released on 4K so far. So that's Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, and Inglorious Bastards.
Hmm.
And I think that the next ones we'll probably get are Kill Bill, and that makes a lot of sense because I'm pretty sure a big like milestone anniversary for Kill Bill's coming up soon. I think they also got Jackie Brown as well.
Hell yes. So like I actually host a movie club, and one night each week, uh, we do a movie night, and we're called the Tarantino Bros because when we started, we did Tarantino's entire filmography in chronological. So we started with Reservoir Dogs and went all the way down to Once Upon a Time.
I'm really hoping that somebody will re-release a Once Upon a Time 4K steelbook. I hope that in a couple years we'll get another one because I missed out on the original one, and it's pretty expensive now.
I think it's at one of my stores that I go to, actually. I think I saw it pretty recently.
Is it the 4K or the Blu-ray?
Yeah, it might be the Blu-ray steelbook, but I didn't pick it up because I didn't really like the design on it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was just kind of yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just hope that one day they re-release a steelbook. Like maybe Lionsgate will get the rights to it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like they're trying to collect Tarantino flicks like Thanos collects Infinity Stones.
Right.
Hey everyone, this is where I'd put a mid-roll ad from my sponsor.
If I had one!
So until we do get a sponsor or two, we're just going to use this time to shout out you, our awesome community, for listening to this episode. Thank you guys so much. As I'm just sitting here listening back to this conversation that I'm having with Teo, I am just astounded and having so much fun going through this edit, and I absolutely love doing this, and I love that you guys are really enjoying watching us and listening to us do our thing and talk about the stuff we love. So I wanted to give a quick little reminder that if you are enjoying this podcast, make sure you are following us on all of our other social media platforms linked in the descriptions below, and leave a like or a rating for this show on whatever platform you're listening to, whether that be Spotify, YouTube, or Google Podcasts. Thanks, and now back to the show. So, what's your favorite Tarantino flick?
Django. Django,
Django's cool.
hands down. Uh the next closest would be the Hateful Eight, but Django just smashes everything, man.
I have only seen Hateful Eight one time. I need to watch it again. That's that and Jackie Brown are the only like Tarantino movies that I've seen just the once. I've seen all of his others like a multitude of times.
Yeah.
I think mine is probably, and this I get weird looks from from Film Kids because I say this. Mine is probably Kill Bill Volume 2.
Oh, okay.
I love David Carradine, and
Yeah.
that movie has a lot more Bill in it. And I
Hmm.
loved Carradine as Bill. Like that was my favorite part about the Kill Bill franchise. So having him in a lot of Volume 2 was excellent. But I don't discount Volume 1. Like I think like objectively they're both like on even ground as far as quality films. I just prefer Volume 2.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think I like volume one more because I feel like it's more kind of stylistic. But I have a very good close friend who loves Kill Bill. Um, and did you see the Kill Bill painted PlayStation plates?
No, I didn't. I've only seen the one video and I can't remember
Oh, okay. Oh,
which
I
one
think
was which one
I,
you
th- I
did.
think I think I did just Stranger Things plates. So
Yeah, that
I
was it.
paint so I painted him Kill Bill plates. I will text that to you because if you want me to do that too, I totally can.
Yeah, man. Let's see him. Oh
All right.
man, you said Stranger Things, and that totally reminded me. I'm just gonna sidebar real quick, and then we'll come back to Tarantino.
Okay.
Um, so I recorded the last episode with Drew, and Drew's from Indiana, and
Yeah.
I totally forgot to do this, but I was going to open the episode with, "So Drew, you're from Indiana. Heard you got Demogorgons up in that motherfucker." And I totally forgot to do it. Dang, man. Um,
That's great.
so yeah, but yeah, I love Kill Bill, man. Like the I actually have a replica of Bill's sword as
Oh,
well.
nice.
And that reminds me I need to get a stand for it and display it on my movie shelf. But I've never wanted to be like one of those guys that has a samurai sword hanging up in his office. I think it's
Yeah.
kind of cringy, but at the same time, like it's a movie prop, so
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
it fits with the shelf. So I mean, I might do that.
No, I definitely get where you're coming from, and I agree. But I did tell myself the only katana I would ever own would be Kill Bill's.
Hmm. Like there's this place. One of my favorite vacation spots is Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And
Hmm.
there's this amazing store called Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and it's like a Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop, but it's got like a super emphasis on blades, and it's
Oh,
like
nice.
a multi story. Like there's an escalator and everything in that shit that you
Oh,
go
wow.
up, and they had the last time I was there all of the Kill Bill swords, like from
Oh,
every
really?
yeah every one of them, and I
That's
was
awesome.
like I bought Bills, but I wanted to get kiddos as well, like at
Mhm.
least. But yeah, like I love Kill Bill, man. Like that was I think Kill Bills were probably the first Tarantino flicks I saw.
Yeah. I want to say Django was the very first one that I watched, which may be why I love that one the most. But I also just think everything about it is perfect. Like I really do think that that movie is like perfect.
Have you seen the behind the scenes like kind of thing that like how Tarantino directs and stuff, and like if he notices like morale and stuff is getting low, like he'll scream out, "Is like, why are we doing what we're doing?" And then like the whole cast and crew knows to scream out, "Because we love making movies."
No, yeah, I definitely love Tarantino's just kind of the way he approaches that type of stuff.
Mhm.
And I heard whenever they did record the scene where the person is being whipped, that Jamie Foxx wanted to like request like a certain type of like music to kind of be played, and it kind of yeah, like it kind of like created the like tone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I don't like that like stigma around Tarantino where people just assume that he takes pleasure and using the N word in his writing and everything. I'm like, there's a very methodical reason behind everything that
Oh yeah.
Tarantino does. Like, I don't want to sound like the quintessential Tarantino fanboy, even though I kind of
Hmm.
am. He's one of my probably top three favorite filmmakers. Like,
Yeah.
but I just think that he gets entirely too much hate for how original he is and for how he mixes blends old school like grindhouse type theming with modern energy, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. I think that too many people think that he's just making dude bro films, and
Mhm.
it's kind of like I've literally heard that from people before. They're like, "Oh, I don't like Quentin Tarantino because he just makes like just adrenaline, testosterone movies and stuff like for a bunch of men." And I'm like, "Bro, your favorite movie is The Avengers."
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with the MCU movies. Drew and I had a great conversation last episode about the MCU movies. I like the MCU movies. And
Yeah.
I want to put this out there too. I wholeheartedly disagree with Martin Scorsese's approach on those movies. I
Oh
think
yeah.
they are cinema in general. I love those movies, but still, I don't like that. I don't like the kind of hate that and discourse that Tarantino gets, especially online. I just feel like the appreciation for him has faded out, and I feel like um, people who are talking that shit probably don't understand how bad film was in the 80s and the 90s,
Oh yeah.
because when especially in the 90s there was that time period when a movie was great, it was great and it's memorable and we still watch them today, but for every great movie there was like 10 bad movies, like 10 really bad movies, horrible trash,
Yeah.
straight to the video store, you know.
Well, like in ones that we don't, still talk about. So it's like it makes the past look like it was like, oh, like look at all these, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely like a rose-colored glasses type thing. Like we
Oh
kind
yeah.
of forget, and especially for like my and your generation. I don't know, you're like 27, 28, right?
I'm 25, so I think you
25.
have me by like 1 year.
Yeah, I'm turning 27 this October.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, like we were born in the 90s, but like in the mid to late 90s, so we don't
Hmm.
have a frame of reference there either. But as guys who enjoy movies, I think we have a bigger frame of reference than most of our other members of our generation, you know?
Yeah.
So, Taya, we've talked about a lot of movies and what movies mean to us. Let's kind of explore your interest in the other aspect of the theme of this show in physical media. Um, to me, I can tell that you're somebody who has enjoyed movies for a long time. I know I was watching um, the Die Alone series that you did, and there's a couple scenes in your bedroom, and there's a shelf of DVDs, and I noticed
Yeah.
that right away, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Okay, so he's been at this for a while. Looks like you had a nice little collection there." So what is it about physical media? I mean, I think the obvious answer for all of us on this show was that, we're all 20 somethings, 30 somethings, and we all grew up in the age before streaming where if you wanted to own something or have access to it, like
Hmm.
physical media was the only way to watch. So I'm sure that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that's why you started collecting is because it was the only way to watch stuff at your fingertips.
Yeah, that was definitely a big part of it. I think it was also both of my parents, but particularly my dad really loved movies. And now that I kind of like look back on it, I think my dad like owns upwards of like 500 DVDs, which he's not like the collector type. He is very much like a casual viewing, I guess, type of person. So especially for him, like that truly is like a uh ton. But yeah, no, so I am 25, and a lot of people believe that that's too young to remember Blockbuster, but I actually do remember them. Yeah. I
Not at all.
think Blockbusters were around, so I was like 10 or 12. So it was definitely like a good, kind of a good chunk of my childhood was going to Blockbuster, was going to Hollywood, and those types of places. But yeah, no, whenever we went to Walmart or Target or whatnot, my dad would always, check out the DVDs, and there would always be one that was like, oh man, my dad hadn't watched this movie since he was like 10, right? So then we would, pick up that, and my dad introduced me to a lot of films, and is in a large part responsible for my taste in films. I definitely love the 70s to 90s and everything in between, like that period to me, and kind of all of the ways that movies grew and changed is definitely like a reminiscent of my parents. And so I feel like they are a big reason why I got into collecting, which is very ironic to me now, because they come into my office and they're like, you own way too many. And it's like, I'm this way because of like, you know.
Yeah, my family knows not to tell me that I have too many movies because they know that my answer will be you can never have too many, and I'll go up and buy five more.
There you go.
So
There
the
you go.
blockbuster thing reminds me. Literally last night, as I was texting with you on Instagram, my stepmother, who I haven't seen in a while, sent me a message on Instagram. And it's this picture of somebody's tweet, and it just said, "Netflix is definitely convenient, but Blockbuster was an experience. Looking through all the aisles for a movie and picking up snacks while you were there. What a time!" And like that's so true. Like the video store was such a great experience for us. And people might say, "Oh, you're too young to remember Blockbuster." No, I most of my best memories with my dad and my stepmom are in a Blockbuster because growing up, I would go to my dad's house. He didn't have cable. He didn't have television. He had Blockbuster on Friday nights, and he also had his own collection. And I've mentioned this, last episodes too. Is that my dad is probably the one who kind of instilled the love of physical media in me, because he had a pretty large collection growing up of tapes and DVDs and stuff like that. And my collection, of course, like dwarfs his now, but it's like seriously the biggest reason that like the biggest thing I look up to, and he still collects them too. And that's like I've always said that's probably the best thing that I got from my father is my taste in movies. So it's cool to
Oh
hear
yeah.
you say that like you kind of have that same kind of film relationship with your dad and stuff, and that's
Mhm.
awesome.
Well, and I think for a ton of ways too, like that was kind of like one of the only ways that I connected with my dad. My dad is very much into like sports, and he's very much like a typical dad, but in the best, you know what I mean, in the best type of like ways. But he's very much like the strong, quiet type. He's not going to really tell you like what's on his mind. But yeah, like I remember like my dad introduced me to like Terminator 2, and like I'll never forget watching that with him, and what that experience. Yeah.
I remember those times, growing up, and you don't have anything to do on a Saturday morning, so you go over to the shelf and you pick out a DVD and or a VHS tape. I had like some old Batman the Animated Series VHS tapes. Watched them on Saturday mornings and stuff at my dad's house, and it was a good time, man. I miss being a kid.
Oh yeah. I think the first DVD that I was ever like given, because like we owned like a ton, but they like belonged to like all of us, right? But the first one that like belonged like to me was like my 10th birthday party. My mom gave me Jumanji.
Oh, really? With Robin
And yeah.
Williams?
Yeah. And I think that was like the first time I had ever been given a DVD like this actually like belongs, to you. So I think it's still in here. We just moved, and it's been so crazy to pull all the stuff out of like, storage and things like that, and all my old, DVDs and tapes, and even a couple of like Blu-rays. It's just, yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. So, what like growing up, obviously you had that connection with it because it was, your parents and stuff, but it's also for all of us, it was kind of necessity if we wanted to watch anything. What keeps you collecting now in 2023 when streamers are ruling the media market?
So I think a big part of it is that streaming is not permanent.
Sure.
Um, so I purchased they released Stranger Things 1 and 2
Yeah.
on Blu-ray. And we have had Netflix for like the past 7 years, I want to say, and we've paid $10 per month. So we've probably paid Netflix at least like 1 grand, probably even more than that. And it's like if we stopped paying today, we would no longer be able to watch Stranger Things, or we would no longer be able to watch like whatever they have put on there, and that is crazy to me because you could also just go out and buy a Blu-ray for like $20, and it like belongs to you.
Well, that
Um,
too, and like, what if like in 2 years Netflix is like, oh, we want to say like they do what Disney did, and HBO when Discovery took it over, and they're like, oh, we want to save some money in our taxes, so we're gonna ditch the first 3 seasons of Stranger Things because they don't get high viewership anymore, and then they're just
and yeah,
vaulted, gone.
and that was a big part of it too, is because I remember when like iTunes came out and you could purchase movies. And I did buy films on like iTunes for a pretty good time. And then after like a few years, I started to notice that those movies had a contract with iTunes that had concluded. So it didn't matter that I paid, it was still taken off. And so
Yep.
between those two things, it was like, okay, I need to actually like keep the physical copies.
Yeah. Amazon Prime has done a couple things like that as well. Like, didn't really matter if you owned it or not. I think that you lost access to it, because
Oh yeah.
they lost the rights to host the file on their servers.
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
just like that's a scary future and what it means for physical media in general, or not physical media, but just media overall, any kind of media, music, movies, books. If any of this stuff goes strictly digital, then the power is out of the consumer's hands completely. And that
Yeah.
is kind of terrifying. And it's terrifying for what it means for ownership of media, but it's also terrifying for what it means for art. Because if the streamers are the ones that are controlling the digital media, that means that they get to completely control absolutely everything that's released.
Oh
And
yeah.
I mean, I just see it as being like insanely freaking hard to get any kind of film made off the ground, because then it's going to be super competitive because everybody is going to be trying to pitch to those streamers. Those streamers only have so much bandwidth. And it's like, even
Right.
if you are one of the lucky people to get your film on one of those streamers, like, I like Amazon Prime for this personally because Amazon Prime will showcase a lot of indie movies. They're
Hmm.
really good for independence because a lot of people they can just put their movies on there without actually having to. It's kind of like Spotify. Like, anybody can upload to Spotify. Although I
Yeah.
think there's probably more restrictions than that, but it's a lot easier. Like, Netflix has to, like, there's like a whole bunch of stuff to get on Netflix or what have you.
Yeah.
Um, but like, if all of these streaming platforms and all of these studios are owning these streaming platforms, then it's just a really scary thing to kind of look in the future and be like, there might be a time when, if I want to watch, I don't know, let's say Grandma's Boy. If I want to watch Grandma's Boy, I won't be able to watch it because that's a movie that bounces around from streamer to streamer to streamer. Like, in the past, I think year alone, it's been like on Showtime, Stars, and YouTube. Like,
Yeah.
why? Why? And it sucks to know that like there might be one day where none of those streamers want that movie anymore. And like, the perfect example that I always try to give is Kevin Smith's movie Red State. Red State went out of print on disc, and it's not available digitally at all. You can't buy it on Prime, you can't buy it on iTunes, you can't buy it on Vudu. It's gone. It's erased off the face of the planet. unless you
Oh wow.
already own it physically. Like that is the most extreme case that I've seen of it.
Yeah. Well, like or I know that when like Avatar 2 came out, they had part 1 on Disney Plus and they actually took it off of Disney Plus because they were going to re-release it in theaters. And so they removed it from Disney Plus so that you couldn't watch part 1 unless you went and on top of paying for Disney Plus, which you paid to be able to watch part 1, you got to go and spend another 10, 15 to get that, the ticket. And it's like, this is why I own Blu-rays, because no company's greed can just be like, oh no, you can't have access anymore. Yeah.
I mean, I think I heard somebody say that like legally within like the warnings and stuff on the disc, like legally if the streamers did want to send like a cease and desist letter to you or whatever for owning a copy of their movie on physical, they actually could.
Really?
Like I can't remember. I think it might have been. I'm not going to name names just to avoid misinformation. I've heard
Yeah.
this, so take it with a grain of salt because I mean, who knows if it's true or not. But I thought that was interesting. I heard this like if they wanted to, they could do that. They are within their legal power because you don't own the movie, you just own the disc, and then you're licensing the rights to have the movie on that disc when you purchase it from a store. So
Mm,
like but I mean, it's just it would be too impractical. Like it would
yeah.
bankrupt a studio if they tried to hunt down everybody who ever bought a piece of physical media. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
so I mean, it's crazy that it exists. Like it's so far out there that it's not possible, but it's so crazy that like the legal loopholes could exist to where if they wanted to really buckle down and do
Yeah.
that, they could. And that's kind of
Um,
scary too, because I don't know if I'd put it past someone like Disney.
yeah. Let me ask you something a little more controversial. What do you think about people that make bootleg Blu-rays of movies that you can only get on streaming?
Um, so the way that I see it is if a film or television show does not have a physical release or it did have a physical release and it's out of print and the only way to get it is to buy it from a scalper, go for it.
Yeah.
Like for sure, absolutely go for those customs, bootlegs, whatever you want to call them. But my thing is, if you buy a bootleg and a studio releases it, I really hope that you would buy it from the studio and throw
Oh
that
yeah.
bootleg in the trash
Yes.
because
Yeah, yeah.
just because that shows the studios what the consumer wants. And if you're like, oh, I already got the bootleg, so I'm not going to buy that. You wanted it in the first place, and you want that studio to release more movies, don't you? So you really
Hmm.
should be buying it. At the end of the day, I don't really care what you do in general, but I think that the right thing to do, the morally right thing to do, because I don't believe that piracy is in certain cases. Now, if you're going out and you're stealing like active movies that are available, yeah, that's morally wrong. But if they're completely out of print or never got a physical release, no, because the studio is not losing any money out of that, and the people who made the movies who were employed by the studio are not losing any money out of that. Especially
Yeah.
if you're like, oh, I want seasons because they only released seasons 1 and 2 of Stranger Things, right?
Hmm.
If you're like, I want seasons 3 and 4 of Stranger Things, well, get it because you still are subscribed to Netflix, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not going to cancel your Netflix subscription. That's where they're getting their money from.
Hmm.
Is you're going to keep that. Another thing too is alternate releases. So like you can get like custom releases of like the Star Wars trilogy, like the D specialized trilogy where
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
like went back and demade the trilogy to before Lucas went in and added all the effects and stuff to it. Or Star Wars Grindhouse where somebody like went in and made the movie look a lot rougher and made it look like a grindhouse, like a cheesy 70s grindhouse movie. Like
Oh,
that
nice.
stuff's super cool. And if you want to own that stuff, absolutely, because we both know that Disney is never going to release the despecialized versions of stuff. Like
Mm.
there would be such a market for it, but they don't want to do it for
Yeah.
some reason. And I have faith that they will never do that. I would put money on that they will never release despecialized editions of those movies.
Yeah, because like I know that one in particular, my favorite movie of like 2019 or 2020 was Tick Tick Boom.
That's the one with
I
Andrew Garfield.
Yes, so I love that film, and they did release the music on vinyl, which I did purchase. They have not released a Blu-ray, a DVD. Like they haven't really expressed any like interest in putting that out on physical. So that's one that I'm like, okay, now it's been a couple of years. I should probably look into a custom of that because I want that. Like I want to own that film.
Yeah, the only thing that I could say to that is like Criterion has been releasing Netflix movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've
Oh,
done a
that's
couple
interesting.
of them. They did The Irishman and then they did Marriage Story, which were both
Oh, okay.
Netflix originals. And Tick Tick Boom seems like the kind of movie that is like right up Criterion's alley.
Oh, yeah.
So I would I'm not gonna say like I expect a Criterion to release that,
Hmm.
but like looking at Netflix's catalog, that's definitely on the list. So I mean, keep that
Yeah.
in mind that one day you actually might get a legit release from it.
Well, and I definitely agree with your point that if they release it, it is kind of your responsibility to go out and then purchase it. One, because of what you did talk about how that does help the big production studios to know, okay, this is what people want. But then also I'm sure it's going to be slightly better picture, and I'm sure it's going to come packed with a bunch of special features and behind the scenes and things like that a custom might not. So you're not just paying for the actual movie, but you're paying for you know the ton of other stuff that will be included too.
And I like that a lot of these like streamers and stuff, and well, and a lot of studios too, are starting to release their rights to their back catalogs to boutique labels. Like I
Hmm.
think that's great. It's like Universal was never going to make a good edition of Mallrats again. They were never going to bring it to 4K, but they gave it to Arrow, and now Arrow has done an awesome Blu-ray of it, and they're releasing a great 4K. They did the same thing with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and they gave that to Criterion and Arrow. And it's like, if you're not going to touch the movie, why don't you just let another like label pay you to license the rights to it to do it themselves, and then you make a little money. You make money that you were not going to make before because you weren't touching the IP, and then if it does well, then you can capitalize on that. And I mean, you could maybe make a sequel or something to a movie like that. I mean, like physical media, we know that physical media is the reason that Clerks 3 got made.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know if you heard that story or not, but like Kevin Smith made Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and then Lionsgate, they just distributed that. They didn't make it. It was made by
Hmm.
Saban Films, the same people who make like Power Rangers and shit. But Lionsgate released the physical stuff for it, and the Blu-ray sales and DVD sales for reboot were so great that Lionsgate was like, within reason, any movie you want to make, we'll make for you. Like we will give you
Sweet.
the money for it. So Kevin made Clerks 3, all because of
That's
physical
really
media.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, no, I am a big Kevin Smith fan, which
Same.
is interesting because I don't think I've ever watched any of his stuff, but he does so many, podcasts
Yeah.
and stuff that I've watched so many of his podcasts without ever seeing any of his movies. I did see Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and then I saw Dogma. um, I did purchase Clerks, but I haven't watched it yet. I
You
do
need to get on that.
want to, yeah. And then I want to see Mallrats, but I've been waiting because on his website he has the Blu-ray that's like autographed that you can purchase.
Yep.
So I am waiting until I do purchase that, and then once that
He
comes in.
he will probably, because when the Arrow Blu-ray came out, he sold signed Arrow Blu-rays, so not just the regular studio Blu-ray version. So he might do Arrow 4Ks signed as well if you wait long
Oh
enough.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I was gonna say that reminds me, if you wanted to get one signed, I have kind of two different Kevin Smith collections. So I have my Kevin Smith collection of all of his like movies on physical media, his books and his comic books, and then I
Hmm.
have my signed Kevin Smith collection, which I think is big enough to call it a collection like separate from the actual Kevin Smith collection, because I have his signature so many times at this point
Oh,
that like
nice.
I've got Chasing Amy signed by him and Jay Muse. I've got Drawing Flies signed by him. I've got his stand-up special Silent but Deadly signed by him. I've got Yoga Hoser signed by him, and I've got his run of the Green Hornet comics signed by him.
Oh, nice.
So,
One that I would kill to have. I would love to have a Kevin Smith autographed copy of Tusk.
oh yeah, that'd be great.
I would love that.
I know they sold those at the stash whenever Tusk came out,
Mm.
but I doubt you can get those anymore. I think Tusk is actually maybe out of print at this point. I don't
Oh,
know. It
is
might
it?
it might still be in print, but yeah, it's an A24 movie, so it might still be. Which I didn't realize it was A24 before like a couple months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was looking at it on my shelf, and I was just like reading the back of it, and I was like, A24, what? So technically, that was my first A24 movie I bought. All right, so Teo,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
good buddy, you are a let's list the multi talents that you are. Writer, check. Director, check. Actor, check. Rapper, which we didn't discuss on this episode. We're
We
going
haven't talked
to
about it.
we're going
Yes.
to in a future episode for sure, because
That sounds good.
you have a song out um, about physical media and movies, and I love it. And yeah,
Oh,
so
really? Cool.
yeah, it's great. So rapper, check, and TikToker. So
TikTok. Yes, sir.
you are on the tickety talk, as everybody who's on this show is. And TikTok is one thing. It's a huge app, massive, and within it are huge niches. And then within those huge niches are our tiny little niche community that we call Film Talk.
Yes, sir.
And you've been on Film Talk for how many months now?
I want to say it's 2 months.
2 months, and you're almost to 2,000 followers. So for reference, I've been doing TikTok for since I think last November, maybe October. Yeah, definitely like around last September, October. So almost a year at this point, and I'm only like 800 something. So for you to be on the platform for 2 months and already grow to almost 2,000 followers, you are doing something like awesome over on your page. You are making insanely cool content, especially you're like here's how I would describe it. You're making people care about movies and making people care about physical media, and you're interacting with the audience in a way that I really love. You put out questions for us all to answer and to stitch with and this and that, and you take that input and everything, and it seems like you really build your content around community. And that's something that I always try to do, and it's something that Zed always tries to do and Drew always tries to do. Um, but it's very impressive to have seen how fast and hard you have blown up in our community. You are on your way, sir. Trust me on that. I've never seen that much exponential growth in that short a time period. Um, and it's very impressive. So I want to know what was like your kind of like what clicked in your mind to be like, oh, TikTok would be a good platform to talk about this stuff on? Like what really started that for you, and how did you get turned on to that, and what what really made you be like, I found this community and I'm going to grow myself within this community, and then in turn this community will be grown self with my help.
To be honest, I learned from watching all of you guys. Um, I was just on TikTok and I saw a lot of people, you included, who were talking about things that I wanted to hear people talk about. And they were, talking about their favorite movies and doing movie recommendations. And actually, so I posted on TikTok, but I wasn't trying to be like a film talker. I posted on TikTok just as another way to like get views, but like a year ago, I did a movie tag, and that did pretty well. I think I got like 200 likes on that. So that was pretty cool. But then I was just kind of posting like random stuff on TikTok. I posted when I went and got my most recent tattoo, and just kind of like that type of stuff. And then I just kind of tuned into a lot of different people on TikTok. I subscribed to a lot of different people, and it was seeing people like I don't have you ever seen Pro Texter?
Yeah, he does the custom VHS tapes, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was watching stuff like him, watching stuff like B Star. And then there was one more, AV collecting. I think those were the channels where it was like, I think I could do stuff close to this. I think I could kind of do stuff that would go with this type of tone. But the big thing for me was always like make the content that I would want to kind of check out. And yeah, so on April 4th, I started posting, and I wanted to make a commitment to post daily, which I've kept to for the most part. I think the only time I didn't post daily was this past weekend, and that's because I was, packing and like all that stuff. But yeah, and it's been a great way to kind of get that creative scratch too, because as we talked about on this podcast, I used to make a lot of more creative, projects and things like that. But since starting my own company, I don't really have time to write scripts anymore. And I don't have time to make a whole production, but I have time to make like a 1 to 2 minute long TikTok. So it helps kind of scratch that itch that those projects used to scratch, and it applies it in a more practical kind of way.
Yeah, that's like 100% why I do it as well. When I and my motivations behind it have changed. Like I set out to itch that, you know, scratch that creative itch that I had, and
Mhm.
and I hadn't made any film or anything. I'd been doing YouTube since like 2009, and I'd stopped for years. And when I got on TikTok and found Film Talk and stuff, it really helped me come back to it and rediscover my love for making like videos and stuff like that. And I can say pretty honestly, I've been doing it for this many months now. I never get tired of it. Like I don't.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and so it's so fun. And then once I started gaining a following and building a community, my motivations changed from just solely the creative aspiration of it to wanting to build a community. And I was talking to Drew about this in the last episode. I'm going to briefly cover it. But all my friends in real life, I love them to death. They're great guys. They're my brothers. Couldn't give a shit about physical media. Not a single one of
Yeah.
them. They're not even that
Yeah.
big into movies. Like I'm the outlier of my friend group because they all are playing games like 24/7, or if when they're not working, like their free times, like video games, which I play video games too, but I make more time for movies and stuff. And then I'm doubly so the outcast because I'm also the professional wrestling fan in the group. So pro wrestling fans are also always kind of more outliers anyway. Um, so TikTok, the community helped me garner a whole bunch of more people who were like, "Oh, you like physical media too? Well, come on, buddy. We'll talk to you about it. We love that stuff. That's our thing, you know." So I'm very
Oh yeah.
appreciative to the platform because of that. Um, so and then it brought me into a new aspiration, which is this show, and now my aspiration is create or scratch that itch and be creative and build community and collaborate with others. And I'm
Mhm.
just having a great time. Having a great time.
Yeah, no. And that's very like interesting that you bring that up because that is the case with me too. Whereas I am like the one person in my group that collects movies. Although I feel like that's slowly changing. I feel like I've kind of I think people have seen how much that I care about it, and they have also started to kind of. I have a couple of people that have purchased like one steelbook, and it's like I'm not gonna, start to collect these, but I will own this one. And so, but for a large majority of my life, I was like the one person that cared about this stuff. And yeah, no, I definitely like TikTok because of that.
Our community is so cool. Like I just can't get over all the love they've given us, and I'm a very big proponent of like three key tenets is to always speak into existence your aspirations.
Mhm.
Uh, if the key to success is to find people who are on the path that you want to be on and make friends with those people, so that way you can tag along with them. And three is to always be humble and grateful and verbally express that gratefulness and physically, whenever possible, show that gratitude and put it back into the world. So I just want to, while we're sitting here and, speaking about TikTok, I wanted to say, like, without TikTok, 100%, I would not be sitting here with Teo. Um, I would never have met Teo or Drew or Zed. Like
Yeah.
it's just not. It wouldn't have ever been possible. I don't believe. Um, and because like by all likelihoods, I'm a little bit weird with it because I also believe that social media is really bad for society as a whole. Well, overuse of social media is
Oh yeah.
because I think that humans weren't meant to know everybody. There's there's no reason that my ape brain is able to comprehend that I'm talking to somebody that is 1,000 some miles away from me right now. Like,
Yeah.
so the fact that we are doing this right now is miraculous and it's impressive, and it's all because of a little TikTok, a little community on TikTok, and a little app, a big app called TikTok. And I'm just gonna say this right here: it pisses me off that the government's trying to take that away from me.
Yeah.
Do you have any fears of that, of losing our platform?
I I don't know, but I think that what we are doing right, like I think us doing this podcast is the key to them not taking it away completely. Because a big thing of why I wanted to do TikTok was to build a crowd and then kind of start my own, sort of podcast or YouTube channel or like whatnot. But just like to have places on multiple platforms where if they take one, well, then we all know a place that we can, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like you could lose your platform, but you won't lose your audience.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it's like that's something that Do you know? Do you know who Overly Honest Movie Reviews is?
I don't think I've seen
Okay.
that
Well,
one actually.
he's he's an awesome creator, but like he's always hammering on like the fact that regardless of what happens, you guys will always be able to find me because I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I am on TikTok, I'm on Twitter, on Letterboxd, and my own website. It's like he's everywhere. He is the king of diversifying his platforms.
Yeah.
So I've actually kind of tried to take a note from his book, and so I've started doing Instagram now. I didn't do Instagram before. I had a personal private Instagram, and then I've actually recently opened it up um, for people to follow me on it, and started putting some of my TikToks on Reels and stuff. Which I noticed that you do that as well.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I wanted to ask you about is how does your audience differ from platform to platform? Do your reels and stuff that you put on Insta, do they get any traction, or is it mine are always dead in the water? Like when I share my reels to Facebook, they actually do okay. They get a lot of views, but they don't get any interaction. But then
Yes. Yeah.
Insta, it's like, oh, I got 3 views. Facebook, it's like 150. Insta, 3. TikTok, 400.
Yeah. That's pretty much how mine tracks as well. I do have a couple people on my Instagram that don't have TikTok, but it's like literally like two people. But those same two people will kind of, constantly respond and kind of, they do keep engaged with my content. But no, TikTok blows them all out of the water. And then I did post one reel on Facebook just to kind of test it, and it's exactly like what you were talking about. It got like 500 views and only like 2 or 3 likes. So I think that Facebook just has like a lot of like um bots or
Yeah.
like stuff. I think
Or
that's where that comes from.
maybe their algorithm just likes to pick stuff up in a different way. You never know, man.
Yeah.
Like, um, my most popular reel that I've ever done on Facebook, and it's got like 30 likes or something like that now, and it's actually a stitch that I did with you, where you asked the question, "What's a movie scene that always makes you laugh?"
Oh yeah.
And I posted it on Reels on TikTok because it got kicked off of TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it got like the audio got removed, and I was like, "Shit, this doesn't make any sense now. I can't post this." So I took it off of TikTok and I just threw it on there, and I think I tagged you in the Instagram post of it. But
Hmm.
like, yeah, like TikTok is kind of stupid too with that though.
It is. No, there have been 2 times now that I wanted to use music, and TikTok was like, you can't post this, but then I went to like Instagram and like I could. So I do like Instagram because of that. And I am kind of beginning to promote my Instagram with my stuff that I post on TikTok, and I'm bringing a few of those other TikTok people, and I think we're kind of building up what Instagram could be. And I think it's because of the fact that, yeah, that TikTok might get, taken down or highly restricted or whatnot.
Yeah. Um, the thing with the audio stuff too that makes me mad, the music and everything, is like if you try to upload any music to it with a video like that's already pre on it, like if I edit it on my computer and then put it on TikTok and it has music on it, like 9 times out of 10 TikTok will block it.
Yeah.
And it's like I use music that's royalty free, or my editing software has music that comes with it, like comes equipped inside of it. And because I own the editing software, it's a not one of those free softwares. It's one that I purchased.
Mm.
Because I own it, I also own the licensing rights to use that music in any projects.
Yeah.
And I put that music in some of my TikToks, and TikTok's like, nah, nah, blocked. And there's no way to like submit anywhere that you have the rights to use the music. It won't let you. and
Yeah.
there's no appeals process for remove sound or anything. I'm just
There's
like
not. Yeah.
I'm just like, how? Why does that make sense? Like, they that's the thing. TikTok is so great for creators and the way that they can build their community, but they're so shit at creator support. It's like,
Well, yeah. Well, like, and then so if you want to use audio on Instagram, you can pick what part of this of that track that you want to use. On TikTok, it's just this one clip, and then so for my video where we went to meet when we went to meet penguins, what I wanted was to have a track playing, but then when I start speaking, have the volume drop, and then when I'm done speaking, have it come up again. And I try to do it on TikTok, and it won't let you kind of put those points. And so it's like you won't let me post the music that I want to post, but when I try and do it on your platform, you don't give me the tools to essentially like recreate it. So it's like a lose-lose.
yeah,
So yeah.
you can't edit music any way, shape, or form on TikTok. Like, not at all. You can't. You don't have any access to shorten it. You don't have any access to split it or anything. You can't. You cannot edit it. And I think that I don't know if that's a way that they're just like being super safe about their copyright infringement issues or what, but
Mhm.
I mean, I don't understand why I can't use a specific spot of a song or lower the volume in a certain song or use a song that I um I own the like I have the permissions to use.
Yeah.
When I don't understand why I can't do all that when 4 times in the last week I've been scrolling through, come up on a live, and they're playing the entirety of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get it, man. I have one more question, and then we're gonna kind of wrap things up.
Okay.
So, one of my favorite questions that you ever asked, and as I said before, guys, Teo, he's very community based. So he asks a lot of questions to the community through his videos and has them answer it, whether in a comment stitch or whatever. You should definitely follow him because it's a great time to interact with him. My favorite question you've ever asked was, what are some tips that you have for new collectors of physical media? And I did a whole ass video on it. It wasn't just a stitch, it was a whole ass video, like 10, 15 minutes worth. I want to know, I want to turn the question around on you. You've been collecting, like, you've been collecting for pretty much all your life, but how long have you been seriously collecting for?
Probably for about 5 years. Probably like since my college years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are your top, let's say, top 3 tips? And if you could think of a couple more off the dome, go for it.
Yeah.
But if top 3 tips, let's say, that you would have for somebody who is new to collecting physical media and doesn't really know what the heck they're looking for.
Yeah. My number one is kind of like what you said, uh quality over quantity. There have been a couple of times where people have texted me, "Hey, my uncle is tossing out all of his Blu-rays. Like want them?" And I used to tell people yes. And what would take place is I would go pick them up. There would be like a stack of like 20, and I would bring them home and I would put them on my shelves. And it just felt like these movies don't belong to me. Like these are not movies that like I picked out. These are not ones that I was like, I want this. And so to me, it is not about just how quickly you can build up space. It's about like these are the movies that I genuinely care about. Now, of course, every once in a while I will do a like blind buy, or I'll see like on Facebook, 10 Blu-rays that cost $10. And if I know like a good, 7 of them, and if they're ones that I would want to own, then I'm okay taking in those extra ones. But I'm not gonna like purchase like a big bin of Blu-rays. So that would be tip one, is quality over quantity. I think tip 2 would be to look on like Amazon. There's a lot of times I see Blu-rays for less than $10. They actually do a lot of discounts and a lot of deals. And then lastly, I think Facebook. I found a lot of great deals on Facebook, and I found a lot of people that are just like, I don't have any more space. Like, I don't have space to keep all these Blu-rays or to keep all these steel books or whatnot. And so they will let them go for extremely cheap because they just need them to be gone. So those would be my tips, I think, if you want to start collecting and if you want to get a collection pretty quickly and pretty cheap, but without going to that like super like extreme step.
I got you. Well, there you have it, folks. You heard it here first. Teo, the Terminurtle's top 3 tips on new beginner collectors. I highly recommend anybody that, especially if you're new, go to Teo's account and kind of search up that video and go and look what people are saying in the comments, because there's some really great tips. And if you want a little more in depth, you can go to my YouTube channel at JT the Talking Head, and I have a video on there that goes over like in pretty deep detail. It's a pretty long video, like 15 minutes, and pretty deep detail about what I feel like are like, I think it did like 7 tips or something like that for new physical media collectors. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it here. Teo, how'd you enjoy your first episode? How do you enjoy being a master of the matinee?
An absolute blast, man. And like, I'm not joking, man. I want us to have, t-shirts and all type of stuff, man. I want this to be pretty big.
That stuff will come if we right here, right now. Let's like I said before, man. We have to verbally express aspirations.
Absolutely.
We aspire to be big, and we've had a lot of our discussions here about community and everything, and this doesn't work without our awesome communities. And I think that once this episode comes out in particular, especially, I mean, I don't want to say it's because you have the most followers of the 3 of us, but it is because you have the biggest reach. I think once your episode comes out, then we might get a bit of a spike, because more people are going to be more keenly aware of it. And then, like, I shit you not, I know the secret of why you've grown so far in 2 months. I know that, and it's not just because of the quality content. Like, you do put in the hard work to make the quality content, and it shows in your work for sure. But it's because of your personality, dude. You are so genuine when you talk. I can tell you that right now. I can read people like that, man. And you talk about the way you speak about everything. You speak with knowledge and passion first and foremost, and that is what I appreciate and respect. And I fully 100% believe that that is why you have grown so much in such a short time, is because people can see that, man. They pick up on that genuine personality you have, and they, people are attracted to that like bugs in a light. So thank you so much for coming on this episode. Thank you for joining our group of well, I was going to say the Island of Misfit Toys, but I was literally talking to my wife last night, and I was like, after I recorded the episode with Drew, I was like, man, I kind of finally feel like I found my people. Like, I'm not on the Island of Misfit Toys anymore. So
oh yeah,
I'm hoping that the people who are listening to this show, they can know for sure that they're not on the Island of Misfit Toys anymore either. And we have gone back to the North Pole, and we're rejoining Santa.
So can we make a promise, or not like a promise? What's the word? A covenant? I don't know. Whenever we hit 1 million subscribers, we gotta bring everybody into one place. If that takes 1 year, if that takes 10 years, like, I don't know. We gotta get everybody into one place.
Are you talking about like so, dude? I'll tell you this. I'll do you one better. If we can hit 100,000 subscribers across platforms,
Yeah.
100,000 subscribers, that would be a mark where I feel like this show, if we got, around that many views every episode, like across all platforms, I feel like
Mhm.
this show would probably be making enough like monetization money to get us like sponsorships and stuff like that. And that would be amazing, of course. But we would actually maybe have the money to do something like maybe go somewhere, all of us meet somewhere in the middle of the country and do a meetup with
Yeah. Oh yeah.
people. Like we could find like I mean Texas would actually be a great place to do it because it's not too far away from everybody else. I know that Drew's in Indiana and Zed is in Michigan. So I mean it's still a trek and I'm in West
Yeah.
Virginia and it's
Come
all a
on
trek.
down, baby. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We'll be out here.
Rootin' tootin' cowboys shooting.
Yes, sir. Yes,
But yeah,
sir.
if we get to like 100,000, I would not be surprised if we are able to try to like pull the trigger on doing like a fan meetup and getting all of us together and maybe starting to do like I don't know live shows and stuff like that. I mean, podcasts that get that big are great, and of course, this is all right now. It's all still in development and it's all in our dreams, of course. But like I said before, man, you got to verbalize and vocalize those aspirations.
100%. Yes, sir.
You have to speak into existence your desires. So, but yeah, I'm gonna cut it right here, man. Teo, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for coming along with Zed and Drew and I, and being a master of the matinee.
I'm glad to be here, and I'll be here for many more.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And there you have it, everyone. Masters of Matinee is a three-peat, 3 down, and hopefully many more to go. We would like to thank everyone who has been listening along and would like to remind you to go ahead and follow Masters of Matinee on YouTube, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Special thanks to this week's co-host, Teo the Terminurtle. You can follow Teo on his TikTok at Terminurtle. That's at Terminurtle, and on his Instagram of the same name at Terminurtle. Remember to also follow me on TikTok and YouTube at JT the Talking Head, and I'm also on Letterboxd doing written reviews. You can find me there at JT Talking Head. Thank you all so very much for listening to this awesome collaborative effort. And now that all of the masters are revealed and you know what you can expect more great episodes from us every single Blues Day Tuesday. Watch us on your way to Best Buy to pick up your new release Blu-rays and have a great time with us. Thanks again for dropping in and listening to us talk about the things that we love, movies and physical media. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week.
Crazy. I know you are, but what am I?
You're a nerd.
I know you are, but what am I?
You're an idiot.
I know you are, but what am I?
I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I?
I know you are, but what am I? Infinity.
No, I'm not. You
You
are.
are.
No
way.
way. Knock it off. Cut it out. Oh, shut up, Pee-wee.
Why don't you make me?
Why don't you make me?
Because I don't make monkeys. I just trade them.